It's about making your way through in an incredibly surprising twist. But I won't tell you the story. I will introduce you to the incredibly unique Julie Hudash.
Thank you. I saw the doctor rolling on his stool quickly towards me, and I wanted to run. I had made a life of running in many ways, first as a high school student and college, where I actually ran the mile. I ran 4 minutes and 40 seconds in the mile. I ran through college, and I know a few things about running. I don't usually run away from things. I usually run towards things. In my journey, the next part of my life that I was running fast was being married and raising 5 amazing kids, 5 kids in 8 years. So it was a busy journey. And then the third part of my life was being the founder and CEO of an amazing nonprofit called TeamKids that empowers kids to believe in their dreams. So a little bit of context back to that doctor's office. It was a checkup, and my doctor was leaving the room, and he looked back and he said, "Is there anything else that you have questions about?" And I said, "Yes, I actually forgot to tell you. I feel like I can't hear in my right ear suddenly." And he came back in the exam room, cut to the rolling stool immediately towards me, and he said, "Let's talk about this for a minute. Do you ever feel dizzy?" I said, "Actually, just this morning, I went to water the plants in the front deck, and I went to pick up the hose, and I almost fell in the planter." And I could tell that wasn't the right answer because I could tell he was concerned. So I said, "Here's the deal. I don't want to worry you, but I'm going to send you in for a brain MRI of your brain and your brainstem. And it's 1 in 100,000 that it could be this kind of brain tumor. So don't worry. It'll be fine." So I didn't worry, except that I'm highly claustrophobic. So having the MRI was the worst thing I had to do. So I went for the MRI. And again, they said, "No news is good news. Don't worry about it." So I went home and went with that premise that no news was good news. My mom's a retired nurse, and she kept saying, "Julie, did you get your results of your MRI?" And I said, "No, Mom, no news is good news. No news is good news." So for a week or two, I didn't hear back, which was another problem. So no news is good news until it's not. So I go for a meeting, and I realize I've missed like 3 calls from my neurologist for my MRI. And I'm thinking, oh, why is he calling me? So I'm on my way back from my meeting, and I get a call. I answer the phone, and they said, "Hey, Julie, we need to have you come in because the doctor wants to talk to you about a finding." Not the call you want to get. And I said, "Okay." And they said, "We took it upon us to make an appointment for you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I said, "Well, I can't come tomorrow at 1. Can it be later?" And I was sort of testing the severity and the importance of the call. I was thinking 1 week, 2 weeks, could it be way later? Maybe never. And she said, "Hold on 1 minute." And she came back on and she said, "We could do 1:45. And I thought, this is not good. And I said, "Okay, fine. Okay, I'll be there, but like, should I bring my husband?" And then there was this kind of pause on the phone. And she said, "Yeah, you could bring your husband." And I thought at that time I had brain cancer. And I came home to see my husband, who is the most patient man. And it was really hard because my husband was actually 10 days out of having heart surgery. And I told him what I had heard about this, going to the next day and not, having to hear what this finding was. Cried and prayed, and then we found, I don't know, gallows humor. You find humor at the hard times. And I said, "Ray, we are like the wicked version of the Wizard of Oz. I'm like, you're this clamoring tin man looking for a heart, and I'm this bumbling scarecrow looking for a brain." And we laughed, it's like, it was scary. So we go in for the MRI the next morning, and the doctor turns on the light behind the MRI, and honestly, a second grader could have diagnosed my brain tumor. With the dye, it glows. It actually looks like these spotlights. But there was like, probably like a jelly bean-sized bright white light on the right side of my MRI. And I heard the doctor say, you have a brain tumor, but it's the good kind of a brain tumor, which I didn't know there was one. So the good news is it's not cancer. The bad news is it's one of the worst places to have a brain tumor. So my brain tumor was right by my brainstem, and it was a tumor that actually grows on the nerves. And so with that diagnosis, came home, and the good news the good news and the bad news, I guess, is that it's very slow growing. So I came home and had time to do some research, which some made me feel more at ease and some made things more challenging. But the best surgeons in the nation, if not the world, are at UCSD. So I felt blessed that it was close by. The challenge is, and because it's a slow-growing tumor, is my brain surgery wasn't for 3 months. So I was diagnosed last May. My brain surgery was last August 23rd. And I had 3 months to prepare myself for having brain surgery. And that's a long time. You know, I think as human beings, we're just not wired to sit with that much fear. Certainly not for that long. My sister Janet was a huge support for me. She's a yoga therapist, and she was trying to get me to meditate. And I think my record in meditation prior to that was about 60 seconds, and that was so long. I don't know how people sit still. She bought me this bracelet, and it's amazing when you feel overwhelmed with fear, what we reach out to hold us up in hope. So she bought me this bracelet. It has a little brass cylinder here, and it comes with a piece of paper where you write your own wish, your own mantra. It took me a while to write it, but in this little scroll is my mantra that got me through. And my mantra is, I trust my choice. I'm confident in my choices. I trust my doctors. I'm surrounded by love. I have faith. I am strong. I will heal completely. And this bracelet really got me through. I probably said that mantra 10,000 times in 3 months. And every time I felt overwhelmed with fear, it would center me and hold me up in hope. So those 3 months passed slowly. I tried to get my surgeon to postpone my surgery to September. But the day came, and we had to drive down to UCSD. This part's hard for me, but I really want to share. We stayed at a place called La Jolla House, which is sort of like a Ronald McDonald House for adults. My family, we went to downtown San Diego for dinner that night, and it was so painful just to see life go around and wonder, you know, what's going to happen on the other side of my surgery. And it was hard to be with people, but I was more terrified to be alone. That night, my husband and I were laying in bed, and I said, this could be the last night of my life that I could smile because of the nerves and the paralysis. And it very well may be, and probably, and is the last night I'll ever have hearing on the right side. So I had my husband multiple times said he loves me in my right ear so that I could remember hearing that. And it was just so challenging to not know what will happen on the other side. So that morning, went into pre-op, and I had IVs in my hands and my feet. I guess brain surgery is not where you want your IV to not work. And I was wheeling in to brain surgery, and you're actually awake when you move from the hospital bed to the surgical table. And I just remember praying and thinking, like, you know, would it be okay? And the next thing I did, I woke up, I had my head all bandaged up, and I was alive. I was not paralyzed. The first thing I did was know that I could smile. I couldn't hear, but I could smile. I was dizzy. They had to cut my vestibular nerve, which is your balance nerve that sends balance information to your brain. I had 24 metal staples in a C above my ear, so they had to take a piece of my skull off to get to where the brain tumor was, but they had a full brain tumor resection. And I can't tell you how beautiful it is to be on the other side and to be on your journey to healing. So a couple days in the neuro ICU, and I get to go home. And a couple funny things. I really feel like after brain surgery, they could send you home with like a 57-year-old baby book with every developmental milestone to meet. Sleeping through the night, walking, holding on to walls. I had to learn to write my name again. And it was really hard. I couldn't walk. I wasn't allowed out of the house by myself. I had to hold on to people. And my kids who were home, it was so funny because I needed to walk to get my balance and to build new connections in my brain. And my kids would go out the door and they'd say, "We're taking Mom for a walk." I used to run our household. My mom, who's amazing, who's much shorter than me, we would go out and I'm holding onto her arm because think of being on a sailboat in difficult waves. That's my life 24/7. Now, it's much lower now, but at the time it was like being on a sailboat. And so I would be holding onto my mom and people would give us the funniest looks. They're like, "Who is walking who? Is that a short older lady walking that big tall woman?" Because that's exactly, I would be holding on for dear life. But one day my husband and I said, "I want to go for a walk and I want to try and do it by myself." And so we went on a walk, set my Apple Watch for outdoor walk, and we started walking in my neighborhood. And I felt so proud until my Apple Watch said 1 mile, 43 minutes, 22 seconds. I used to run a 4-minute mile. It was a far cry, but it was being independent and being out, which was such a gift. And today, I'm so blessed to have my life back. This morning on my walk, I decided the title of my talk today is Run, 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 Walk. And I thought, you know what? I don't think that's the way I want my story tonight to end. So this morning, Mom, I'm sorry, I decided to run. And I was out on a walk and I stopped my Apple Watch and I put it to outdoor run. And I started running, more of a jog. But I made it. I ran a mile and my watch said 1 mile, 16 minutes and 20 seconds, which is a far cry of a PR from 43 minutes. But I got back, I was dizzy. I had a little bit of double vision and blurry vision. But I sat down at the counter and really started thinking about this journey. My 1-year anniversary of my brain surgery is August 23rd, so I go into my MRI soon to make sure there's no regrowth. I accept all prayers. And I thought to myself, of course I wish I didn't have a brain tumor. I wish I could hear. I wish I didn't have imbalance and some other deficits that I have. But I like the person I am today, even better than before my brain surgery, because of the journey. And I thought, you know what, this morning I'm going to pen my new mantra because I'm on the other side and I'm healing. So I penned my mantra. I'm going to close with this now. I am forever grateful for a second chance in life. I'm grateful for every day with my family. I live in the present because I know it is the only place where life exists. I strive to take away pain and frustration from people around me, especially children. And I will continue to meet every threshold and every obstacle in my healing, knowing that I will surpass them tomorrow. Thank you.